All right, so before we get started, there is one other thing I noticed from the last video, and it's this poly extrude face. This has to be a mistake that I made at some point in time editing this geometry. And I remember seeing it first here under all inputs. It's just sitting up there. One way to get rid of it is to delete non-deformer history. So I'm going to look at this list, make sure I don't lose any of this stuff over here, and go edit, delete by type, non-deformer history. And this should get rid of that. Let me go apply. All right, so that delete non-deformer history command was taking quite a while. It usually would work just fine, but I think that this is a very busy mesh. It has a lot of things going on. So it was taking a while to process it. And it's also a very dense mesh. So if you are waiting too long and you don't want to wait, another way to get rid of this node is to just select it. So I select the name. And if I go into select by name over here and I put this in, it should select the node and I can just hit the delete key and it will get rid of that deformation. So when I come back over here, it shouldn't be there anymore. Okay. So let's get started with the first corrective deformation, which is the ankle fix. If you remember when we were skinning the legs, let me hide the sneaker. There is this fix that I said I was going to deal with, and it happens when we extend the foot. So when you extend the foot to about there, this is about a fair amount of rotation that you can do with your foot. Maybe just a little too much. You can do about a 45-degree rotation with your foot, about that. I'm not going to do any corrective fixes for, as I stated once, anatomically impossible poses. So I'm not going to push this thing all the way here and try to create a fix for that. That would be silly. But there is a way to play around with the curve of the set-driven keys that I create to allow them to continue processing past a certain point. But for something like this, I am going to focus on a more believable rotation, and so should you. You really don't want to accommodate poses that don't exist. So this is the bulge that I wanted to fix. I said something about pushing it back. And now that I look at it, I realize that the back of the foot would also have to be fixed to some degree. I would have to move it a little bit back. Now, when I first thought about this fix, I thought a suitable solution would be to use Advanced Skeletons Cluster Control. So I put it under here. And another thing I want to mention is that I'm trying to distinguish skinning fixes from anatomy corrections. Technically, there shouldn't be no difference, because a skinning fix is essentially attempting to make a change that looks anatomically correct. So it doesn't necessarily make that much sense to split these, but I do want to separate fixes that I resolved to do because skinning couldn't resolve them from more complex anatomy corrective deformation. So that's what you're seeing over here. You're seeing a lot of these fixes underneath the skinning here are things that could not be resolved with skinning properly, like the smile. If you remember a while ago, the crotch, and there's also an issue with the shoulder, which we'll get to. But this is the first one I want to address. So since the advanced skeleton solution will provide me with a control, and I really don't need a control here. I just need to push this back. There's some vertices that I want to push, and there's some vertices over here that I want to pull. I think that a suitable fix would be to use a cluster through the intermediary blend shape. So I don't need a control. I just would be connecting the driving system, I'd be connecting the set-driven key directly to the cluster. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it underneath here, because I'm pretty sure this is how I want to fix it. It's too simple of a fix to need a control for. And now that I've noticed that I do need to fix the back too, I'm going to specify that here and say ankle front bulge and back sink skinning fix. All right, this is just my way of describing what I'm seeing. So I have to admit, I gave this ankle fix PSD an attempt with a cluster from an intermediary blend shape, but it was a very unintuitive approach to take for a fix this simple, right? There was too much work that I was having to do as far as painting the cluster's weights, and it was really going to be a mess. And considering that it would have to be done on both sides, I could already see that it would be an obscene amount of work for something so simple. So looking at what I have right now, which is a need to fix both the back and the front of the ankle, I think that the best solution would be to use an in-context blend shape, because I can knock them out in one sculpt session, as opposed to dealing with this front bulge with a cluster here and then going to do it on the back and then having to do the same thing on the other side. So after a failed attempt, I think this solution has to move from this column and be resolved with an in-context blend shape instead. So with an in-context blend shape, we can let this intermediary mesh be, and I can come to my mesh here, go to the sculpting menu and open the shape editor. I think I might already had it open. And for now, I'm going to zero this out and select this and create a blend shape node. Now, I don't yet know how I want to organize these in-context blend shapes. As I mentioned before, I have these categories. I might create a separate node for everything that's under a unique category. So all the next stuff will go under one blend shape, and upper torso and lower torso. Or I might just do everything under just one blend shape node. But since I'm undecided, I'm just going to leave this node unnamed for now. And I will deal with the naming and the grouping and the organization shortly when I start to see the way things are panning out. So now I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to add a target, and the target is live. When you see this red thing, it means the target is active. So I'll just jump straight in and bend foot, show you how simple this is going to be with an in-context blend shape approach. So again, with the foot bent at about 45 degrees or a little bit over, all I have to do now is do the shaping. So if I right click, grab a vertex over there, go into the soft mod selection mode, which is a very simple way of sculpting in Maya. We are going to use some of these brushes for the more complex in-context blend shapes, but this is fairly simple. So we're going to use this soft mod tool. So if I was to move this back, yeah, so that's about it. I said this took me just a few seconds to get the front done, and with the cluster, I would have been painting forever and moving the cluster around. So this looks really nice. This is about what I want in the way of a result. Okay, so let me get out of here. Yeah, and that's the fix. So if I was to de-trigger it, I go back to what it was before, and with the trigger, there's the fix. Very simple fix with an in-context blend shape. So I'm going to go out of edit mode, and I am going to name this now. Call it TRGT for target. Call it ankle fix. But this is the, actually let me call it ankle skinning fix. But this is the left side of the character, so I have to be mindful of that and put left. I'm going to put an L to represent left side, and I can zero this back out. And it's still active, but that's fine. Actually, let me show you that it doesn't actually matter. I could just leave this at the rotation value shown and do what I'm about to do next. So what I'm going to do is just mirror it over to the other side. So I'm going to right click, duplicate the target. It should have a double impact. And then I can right click and flip target. Okay, so then it goes to the other side, and let me see what's happening. If I rotate the foot backward, Okay, that doesn't look right. So let me find out what's going on. And actually, I think I know what might be wrong. I should know better. So if I select this foot now, one thing I do have to do is check the input order, because that has to be changed every single time now. So this blend shape also has to be moved down. Underneath the skin clusters. So I have to be mindful of that. Can't forget to do that every single time. So with it moved down now, should be evaluating correctly. Okay, looks like it prefers to be underneath there. So that's a really weird behavior. I don't know why the duplicate and flipping is producing an inverse on the other side. It's not usual. I'm going to use a trick to get around it for now, and I'll find out why I'm having this issue. There must be something I'm doing wrong. All right, so I resolved the issue, but I don't like the solution I ended up going with. I don't know why this is doing this. Typically, you should be able to just duplicate the target, flip it, and it should just replicate the result on the other side. Even with an activation of 1, it should really just flip it. There has to be something going on with maybe either my model or scene center. I don't know why it's inverting the result so that it's creating a bulge instead. But obviously then the solution would be to set the second target to -1. So now I have to be mindful of the fact that on the right side, for everything that's duplicated, when I'm triggering it with a set driven key, I have to make sure that I'm actually setting the right side to -1 to get the correct deformation result. It's really weird. I don't know why that's the case. But for now, that would be my temporary solution. So I'm going to rename this duplicated, flipped, and set to -1 target to right. And I should have my in context blend shape resolution on both sides. And I think this is about a good time to rename this blend shape, just so I don't confuse myself any further. So I think under this blend shape node, I'm going to put all the things I'm categorizing as skinning fixes. So I'm going to call this BSHP skinning fixes. And all of them are going to just sit underneath here.